A new school year, and yep, another IEP meeting will be coming up, right? And if you are already anxious and worried about what that next IEP meeting is like, I get it. Because it can be really discouraging to go to meeting after meeting and have people talking in circles and talking about what your child can't do, why they're not ready to be included. And it's like, yeah, it's not a place that you want to be, and certainly not a thing that you want to do year after year. The good news is we have a way to flip that and make those meetings so different so your child can be successfully included in their general ed classes. Now, today, I would love for you to think about one strength or something that your child does well, and as we're going through, think about how you can connect that strength to a goal in their IEP, or how that strength can be connected to an accommodation, because that's what we're going to be talking about today. And at the end, if it's like, this sounds great, Charmaine, but I really don't know how to do this, no worries. I've got a way that I can help and support you doing that too. What I wanted to first think about is those beliefs that sometimes we just hang on to. And the belief that I'm talking about is we need to talk about what our child can't do because we want to make sure they qualify and they're eligible for special education services. And it goes back to when your child was first being diagnosed and evaluated. And you probably had other parents and you saw social media posts that said, talk like it's your child's worst day. You need to make your case that your child is so far behind so they can get extra help. Yeah, and there's something disconnecting there. We've kind of grown up in this culture of if you want to get more services, you have to prove your child has more of these needs. Look at how we can change that around. Because the problem is when we hang on to that culture of we've got to show our kid has deficits in order for them to get support, it really has a cost to your child. It's like they get these labels like, oh, they're non-compliant, or, they're just not motivated, or they just are too far behind everyone else. And when people come with that mindset and see that, and it just taints the ability for them to be able to see your child as this whole person that is competent and has a lot to give. What I see as one of the big mistakes that I want us to recognize is that the strengths that we write in the IEP, when they become just this paragraph and not a strategy, that's a huge mistake that gets made right at the beginning of that document. Because for me, I think success leaves clues. And the new belief that we can embrace is that strengths aren't just compliments. Strengths are instructional data. They tell us how your child learns best. When we know your child's strengths, we also know how they can show us what they know and what they've learned. We can figure out what keeps them engaged. We know what support actually works. So when we have this new belief, we can make lots of change. This is a framework that I've developed called Connect the Dots, Build an Inclusive IEP. And what I look at is how we can start with your child's strengths, connect them to present levels, connect them to goals and accommodations, services, and have that lead to your child's North Star. And that North Star is that dream, that vision that you have for your child and the life that your child wants for themselves. Because even if your child is very young, that IEP is one step closer or further away from the North Star that you're shooting for. So let's take one example, one student, and go through this flow and show you how the strengths connect. So we start with the strengths and interests of your child. Here are some things we know. This child learns best by watching other kids first. He watches, he sees how someone else does it, and then he feels confident enough to try it. We also know that he does well with manipulatives and that he used base 10 blocks in first grade. Now, how are we going to connect those strengths to the present level? Let's look. This is a summary of his strength. The student learns new math concepts most efficiently when he can observe a peer model and use hands-on materials. Now that we took exactly from his strength. But that's his strength, then guess what his need is going to be? His need becomes he needs access to peer models in the second grade classroom in order to acquire new problem solving strategies. So look at what we did here. We didn't argue about placement, but we already started embedding inclusion at that beginning part of the IEP when we talk about needs. Because guess what? If he needs peer models are in general education classrooms. Now it's like, okay, we've got this strength, we've got a need. How are we going to tie this to the goals? Now, I don't expect you as a parent to come in with a measurable, meaningful goal, but I think coming in with an idea like this can be very helpful. So again, this is going to be based on his strengths, remember? In the second grade classroom, the student will use base 10 manipulatives and peer modeling to solve addition problems. What did we do? We defined in the second grade math classroom because we want him using those skills in general ed. I don't want a goal of he's going to be pulled out and he learns touch math in the special ed room. I want him in the classroom learning math. We know he likes manipulatives. Guess what? We wrote it in the goal. We know he needs peer modeling, so we wrote it in the goal. This is the kind of strategy that changes everything for your child. So let's go on to accommodations and modifications, because here we also want to tie it to their strengths and how they learn best. So an accommodation could be that the student can watch a peer model the task before trying it, and that the student is offered base 10 blocks during instruction and math practice. Now, if your child has a modification and maybe the class is working on double-digit addition, your child can still be working on math skills, but maybe they're working on sums up to 20 and they're using those manipulatives, and that could be their modification. What I want you to notice is that your child's still in their classroom. They're still in that second grade math class. with their friends and classmates. And that's what inclusion looks like with support. Well, what about services? How much time is your child being pulled out to go to the special ed room or the SLP's therapy room? The concept here is that services are portable, that your teacher can come to the special ed teacher can come to the general ed classroom, co-teach, and help support your child that way. The other thing that you want to look for on that service grid towards the end of the IEP is if your child has a math goal, then the location needs to be the general ed math classroom. And the minutes would be something that would match the actual math block that they have in second grade. A lot of people don't recognize that there's also another part, usually under that service grid. It's called optional statement of service delivery. And the whole point of this is for you to walk away understanding who's doing what, when, and how with your child every day. So here's an example of something that could be written there. The special education teacher provides specially designed instruction during the math block inside the general education classroom. Again, bringing support to your child. Now, it talks about specially designed instruction, and it's like, what does that mean? Actually, the definition of special education is specially designed instruction. And I think sometimes it's helpful for you to have exact federal regulation language of what is supposed to be happening. Here is a federal regulation about specially designed instruction. It's adapting the content, methodology, or delivery of instruction to address a child's unique needs resulting from their disability and to ensure access to the general curriculum. So another great question is, what does a specially designed instruction look like for my child so he can access the general curriculum? That's the goal. The goal is not to stay in a special ed room. When these dots are connected, the wonderful thing is it leads to that North Star, that vision, that dream that you have for your child, that rich life that you want to have them have, and the dreams that they want for themselves. A strength-based IEP that also leads to inclusion is what makes a world of difference when you're at that IEP meeting. And guess what? It makes a world of difference for how your child spends their day. If you're thinking, wow, Charmaine, this sounds great, but it's like, I'm not sure I could actually look at my kid's IEP and do this. And the good news is we have a new service that I'm offering for families, and it's where you and I sit down together and we do an inclusive IEP audit. And it's like, well, that sounds fancy. What it is we go through that framework, totally individualized to your child's IEP. We find where that breakage is when the strengths aren't connected through each section of the IEP. We prioritize what matters to you, what you want to see changed first. And you walk away with a report that tells you what to say, how to say it. When you are at that next meeting, when you write that next email. With the inclusive IEP audit, you also get, which I love, is this custom GPT I developed for parents. and you answer a few questions, and this AI tool is trained to take that information and write a really detailed profile of your child as a learner. It gives you language that you can take to the IEP meeting. It gives you the language to connect from your child's strengths to how do we word this in the goal now? It's like pretty amazing. That's part of the inclusive IEP audit. You get that tool and you can, repeat using it and it's yours to use. I also give you a lot of different ways to reframe or to be able to figure out exactly how do I say this. When you're looking at your child's needs, one of the sentence frames that you can use is my child needs so they can, and then like the example we had, my child needs peer models so they can learn new math skills. Or the other thing that I love to help parents collect is a bank of questions because the better questions you ask, the better answers you can get. For me, when you're talking about goals in the IEP is a perfect time that you could say, well, can you help me understand how my child's strengths are being used to teach them these new skills? Or when you're talking about accommodations, we'll look at ways to make sure they're tied into strength. A perfect question to ask the staff is, how can we tie my child's strengths into their accommodations or modifications? When we have the inclusive audit, it's a 90-minute Zoom call, but there's prep work that I do beforehand, and then you get that report at the end. I wanted you to know about how you can get signed up and get first chance to get one of these audits because there's only 10 spots. I think it's going to go fast. The process is sign up for the priority list before Tuesday, the 11th, because everybody that's on the priority list is going to get a 6-hour advance notice, head start, and those spots are going to be on a 50% off sale. So you can buy a inclusive IEP audit now for $197 instead of the regular price of $397. But once the 10 spots are sold, then the price goes away too. Just sign up for the priority list. You're not making any kind of decision right now, but you want to find out about it and get more details. Go to priority.iep.today, and that's where you will find all the details. I want you to remember that your child does not have to prove that they are ready to belong. The staff in the school have to be ready for your child. And your child's day will be so much different when the staff are using those strength-based lens and seeing the results that can happen when a child is successfully included in a general ed classroom. As an advocate, as a parent, I want to make sure that your child is safe, happy, and learning every day in that general ed classroom next to their friends. And if that's what you want for your child, let's get together. Take care.